Oh crap! I was on mute, wasn't I? Yeah. All right. Well, did someone message you? Yeah, they're like, "Hey, I can't hear now." Hello, TV land. I'm really sorry. I don't think I said anything. Did I say anything too important in the first 2 minutes? No. Well, if you could just message your friend and just on your group chat, which I know exists. I don't even want to know about it. I know they exist. I don't want to ever see it. God, please never show it to me, please. But just tell them what I informed them. I'm really sorry. I'll tell you what happens. My mic has a mute button on it. And for whatever reason, when I plug it in, it goes mute by default. I don't know why. I think it's a defect. So unless I press this button, it says I'm mute. So that's the reason why. I'm really sorry, YouTube. What's that? What jokes? I don't know. Because I have two of these same mics, and the other mic doesn't have this problem. So it must be just this unit. It really bothers me sometimes. I've never had a student in person say, "Professor, you're on mute." Usually that's on Zoom, but this in real life. So thank you, Marty. I appreciate the update. All right. When I use the word estates, I'm not using it the way you probably use it in common discussion, right? Grandma died and the house was in their estate. The estate refers to an interest in property. And it's really two separate questions, right? Who owns it and when do they own it? I keep repeating these questions, they'll keep coming up. You need to start thinking about property in terms of these two issues. Who owns it and when do they own it, right? Now, would it be simple if, just Josh owns a house, who cares what happens in the future? Unfortunately, no. We need to know what happens at any point in the present or in the future of who owns some piece of property. And the reason why is largely a question of history. Now, your chapter opens up with a discussion from Holmes, right? And Justice Cardozo. And if I could just summarize, I'm sure you read it super carefully. What these judges are getting at is our system of property wasn't built overnight. It's not like they decided one day to just write a property code. These rules developed over the course of years and decades and centuries, and truly almost 1,000 years. We're almost at a millennia, right? Over the course of nearly 1,000 years, our system of property developed. And developed based on the circumstances that existed in England long ago. You might ask, Josh, why do we care what the British people thought about foxes, right? And hunting of whales? Well, guess what, folks? Everything we have dates back to how they did it before. We're mocking Roman times and Justinian. Our legal system did not spring up overnight, right? If you really want to get the way our legal system works, you have to study the English system. You should say the Romans too, they were pretty important, right? This is why the judges in the 1800s knew about Roman law, right? They knew about English common law. This is what they had to know. This is where they came from. And this is what we have to learn. So I'm going to give you an abbreviated summary of history. If you read the discussion in the book and you were sort of confused, it's okay. You don't need to understand all of it. And I'm not going to ask you specific questions about history, but you need to know the general gist of why we have the system we do. So let me show you a picture, which I think is actually more helpful than the entire first 4 or 5 pages of this chapter, which frankly, I don't like it, but you have to read something, so that's what I gave you. But it's don't read anything. No. There are parts of it that are useful, and I can't say, read this sentence, read that sentence. So just I assign like 8 pages, and just you'll suck it up. All right. But this pyramid, I think explains what we're dealing with. In medieval times, which is a period that stretched hundreds of years, you had a king, right? And the king was a sort of ruler of all. All land belonged to the king, right? He had the full bundle of sticks, whatever he wanted. But obviously, the king couldn't be everywhere at all times. So the king appointed the nobility, right? The nobles, who would manage land. He would give this piece of land to this noble, and this piece of land to that noble, and so on. And this land would stay in the family of the nobles for generations upon generations, right? Usually it would be inherited by the oldest male son. If you've seen any movie about, was it Game of Thrones, whatever, there's always the oldest son. That's always the biggest deal, right? In fact, there's a doctrine, which I'll just type in the name, called that's really small, make it bigger. primogenitor. Here, let me make that bigger so you can. If you can't see my font, tell me if it's too small. So I have to make sure people in the back can see. But primogenitor. Primogenitor, primo meaning first, gener meaning generation, meant that property went to the firstborn male. Right? So this elaborate system of property was developed to keep the land from the king in the hands of the bloodline. Right? It was about control. That a father says, when I die, it goes to my son, and when his son dies, it goes to his, the grandson, and so on. This is a very important aspect of property. But as we all know, the vassals and the lords were not tending the land to themselves. They needed some help. So they added another sort of rung or layer in this pyramid, which were the knights. What did the knights provide? Protection. If someone tried to invade their land or conquer it or steal their stuff, the knights were responsible for securing them. But the knights also did something useful. When the king wanted to go fight a war, and there were a lot of wars back then, the king would say to the nobles, hey, I need some knights to fight my war. We're going to crusade, everyone. Hop on board, right? And so you have this weird structure where the king would give land to the nobles, but the nobles would give some knight service and monies to the king. What did the knights get out of this? Well, they weren't nobility, right? But they were allowed to hold land. So the nobles would give land to the knights. Not all of it, but just a chunk of it. And that way the nobles could create something for their family so that their sons could inherit land. But again, the knights weren't actually tending to the soil and planting the seeds and feeding the chickens, whatever else you have to do. So at the bottom of this rung was the common folk, the peasants, or serfs, if you will, S-E-R-F. You've seen that word before, serf. And here's that word. The knights would give some land to the serfs, and they would farm on it. And then the peasants would give food to the knights, who would give money and food to the nobles, who eventually gets back to the king, right? But the peasants, the serfs, were not allowed to hold property. They were basically tenants, right? And these were their landlords. Oh, why are they called landlord? Feudalism, right? Literally, they were the lord of the land, the lord of the manor. And why are you a tenant? All of you are probably renting. You're tenants. You have the same terminology as the serfs from 1,000 years ago. Congratulations, you learned something new, right? But the peasants had no rights. They could be evicted at any time for any reason, for no reason at all. And back then, if you were evicted, that was basically a death sentence, right? You had nowhere to go. There wasn't some other farm that was going to take you. So the serfs lived at the fear of the knights and the lords, right? They just lived at their discretion. There was no protection. And then eventually things got a little bit better, but it was pretty rough back then. Okay. But the reason why all these layers exist was about controlling land, right? Who gets to live in the land now? And who gets to live in the land in the future? Right? Okay, so then what happens? Well, eventually the government starts thinking, I have an idea. Tax, right? We have all these people conveying all this property, all these people creating these different layers in the cake. Why don't we start imposing taxes on transferring of property? Seems like a good idea. And that's where the lawyers come in, right? Forever and ever, the oldest profession, or the second oldest profession, is an attorney, right? Lawyers have been deciding how to avoid taxes, not evade. Listen carefully. Tax evasion is legal. Tax avoidance is encouraged, right? How do you avoid taxes? And this led to a system that we now have known as estates, where you write these very complicated things like to him and his heirs and to life and l'chaim, right? All these different things. And that's designed to minimize the number of transactions you have and pay less taxes. So as you see, you're struggling to figure out these cockamamie conveyances, Just thank the lawyers from generations ago who said, let's avoid a couple of shillings in tax to make this convoluted conveyance, right? You're welcome. But we're stuck with it. To this day, conveyances in Texas use this sort of language. It's not common, and I'll be completely candid. Most people today don't use this sort of language, but if you come across an older conveyance, maybe did oil and gas work in the 1800s, you will see this language, I promise you. So you got to know it. You got to know it. It sucks. It's painful. Your head's going to hurt, but you got to know it. All right. Any questions on the history or thing that maybe jumped to your mind when you were reading the sort of background, which again, I'm not super eager to go into, but I'm happy to answer your questions, assuming I know how to. Oh, you're scratching your head. The head scratch, is it no? Yeah, go ahead. Is that name text, please? Is it Clark? It's Clark, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I know we were talking about in terms of the passing land along to like an heir that kind of pay a tax to keep it in the family. I guess would that apply to nobles, like having to pay the king, or is that kind of already set?
Usually it was from one noble to another. That's usually how it worked. So let's say one family fell into debt and they need to sell land to pay off their debts. That's how it would sort of work. And those transactions would then be taxed. Okay. Yes, Armin.
I was just kind of confused on how the Quay and the Torah.
Oh, you have to ask about that. Look, don't worry about it. That's my answer. I could spend an hour talking about it. I'm not going to.
Okay.
I have much more important things I want to get through. 1600 was a long time ago. That was like 500 years ago. I think we're 400 years. We're okay. We're okay. It's just we're. If you had Richard Epstein for property, you spent the entire semester on it. He's a famous professor. He loves Roman law. We'll talk about it all day, but we're gonna just move on. What else? I dread every year that question because every 3-4 years I get that question. It's not every year, but anyway, thank you, Armin. But I appreciate that you read close enough to even ask about that. I'm grateful for that. All right, so let's move on to the actual stuff you want to learn, or that I'm making learn. You don't want to learn any of this crap, but that you have to learn. Let me put it that way. We're going to be doing a series of examples, and these are on the class notes. I think I have 8 or 9 of them. I think we can get through the next hour and 15 minutes, like 8 of these. It'll take that long, I think, at least. All right. And if you go to the case summary folder that I share with you all, I put together a couple documents. Number 1 and number 2. There's a document, and a bunch of you are already logged into it. Document called Present Interests, Life, Estate, and Fee Simple. The second document is Future Interests, Reversion, and Remainder. You can just pull those up in the share folder. If you haven't already read through those, read through them very carefully. The examples that I have on the screen are from that document. So if what I'm saying here just doesn't even remotely make sense to you, go back over the weekend and go through those documents and it'll make it. And I'll do it more next week, okay? So at least I want to start. All right, everyone ready? Ready to states? Let's do this. All right. There are 2 broad categories of estates. Broad categories. Present interests and future interests. Present interests and future interests. At any point in time, there must be there's going to be one present interest and one or perhaps more future interests. Right? Again, at any point in time, there's going to be one present interest, and actually only one present interest, and one or more future interests. So when I ask you, describe the estate of Adam, what I'm really asking you is what are the present interests and what are the future interests? Or if I say, describe the interest in Blackacre, which is a common piece of property, you're going to tell me here are the present interests. Adam has this, and Betty has that, and Oscar has this. And what are the future interests? Oh, Adam has this, and Betty has this, and Oscar has this, right? You always have to hit both questions. Right? By the way, why Blackacre? If you notice, Blackacre is used in the reading a lot. We don't really know. There are theories. There's Blackacre, there's Whiteacre, there's Greenacre, there's Redacre. There's a theory that different types of beans were grown. There's black beans and white beans. We really have no clue. But for whatever reason, law professors for 100 years referred to Blackacre and Whiteacre. I couldn't tell you why. That's what we got. So it's always been Blackacre, Whiteacre, Greenacre, Redacre, Blueacre, whatever. That makes it easier. I wonder if these show Green Acres. Remember the shows in the 1950s? Green Acres. Green Acres. Waits for me. Farmland as far as I can see. No. Anyway, it was Jean-Jacques Gabor, and who was the guy? Oh, I can't remember his name, but it was basically a wealthy couple from New York, and they decided to move out to the country. It's basically like The Simple Life, but like in the 50s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, there you go. Okay, at least someone gets my reference. God, Lord help me. What's some right? God bless Josh Blackman. I'm like, Lord help Josh Blackman. All right. So when I'm asking about estates, we're talking present interest and future interest. I'll give you just a really simple example, right? I rent you an apartment for the spring semester, right? This is yours. You're living there. You're a present interest. But I know when that semester ends, it comes back to me. I'm the landlord. But then I rent to her the apartment for the summer semester. At this point, she has a future interest in the apartment. You have the present interest in the apartment. And eventually it comes back to me, right? We all do this. We just don't really think about it. At any point, there's going to be one person with the present interest, and then someone else with future interest. And you could rent that apartment a couple years in advance. You might have 3 or 4 subsequent future interests. You just stack one after the other. No problem there. Okay? That's easy. So today I want to discuss 2 kinds of present interests. And by the way, I am going out of order. I'm not doing the order the book does it. I think the way the book does it is confusing. No kidding, right? I'm going out of order. So Professor Blackman, that's not our reading it. Yeah, just bear with me. It's out of order. But I think it'll make more sense. I want to do 2 types of present interests. The life estate and the fee simple. Right, the life estate and the fee simple. We actually kind of did this last class for the painting case. I deliberately teased you. I didn't quite go all the way, but I gave you like a little preview. But we're doing 2 things, say the life estate and the fee simple. Okay? All right, so let's start. I start from a very basic principle. All of us are going to die. It's true. We will all die. We don't know when, we don't know where, we don't know how, but we will all die. Eventually, someone else will be up here in a suit. It's not going to be me, right? It's true. Look, it's true. And property law recognizes this simple fact. People are born and they die, right? It's the start, there's a finish. The life estate reflects this fact. If I give someone a life estate, it's for the duration of their life. And that estate terminates upon their death. All right? And this is going to sound like a very obvious point, but I need to say it. If you're dead, you can't own property. I know that sounds so stupid and obvious, but it's actually very important. Once you die, you're dead. You're worm food, right? You cannot hold property. Maybe in the afterlife, I don't know. If you're Egyptian, you bring it to the Nile, whatever, right? But at least our perspective, you cannot own property as a dead person. After you die, the property's got to go somewhere. Someone has to own the property. Okay? With a life estate, you have the property for your life, but after that, it's gone. And you can't control what happens, right? The basic aspect of life estate is once you're dead, it ain't yours anymore. You can't control it. You can't say who it goes to. It doesn't go to your children. It doesn't go to your heirs. It doesn't go anywhere. Or go somewhere, but you can't control where it goes. Right? So just look at example 1A, right? Oscar, make it bigger so some of the other class couldn't see it as well. Oscar gives Adam a life estate in Blackacre. All right, who's next? Who are we up to? Oh, Sarah, thank you so much, Sarah. So, Sarah, in this example, who has the present interest?
Adam does.
Okay, and who has the future interest?
Oscar still has the future interest.
That's right. So, very good, thank you. So, when I say, what are the interests in this conveyance? We say that Adam has the present interest, and then we said Oscar has a future interest, right? Because we know upon Adam's death, got to go somewhere. All right. But unfortunately, in property class, we can't speak in normal English. That would be just too easy, right? Instead, we use a very specific type of jargon, a language of the law, if you will. And this is a language that's developed over the course of millennia, 1,000 years. But you have to learn to speak it, right? You can't just say on your exam, "Oh yeah, Oscar gave Adam a life estate in Blackacre." No, that's not going to work. Unfortunately, when I ask you a question, it's going to be like this: Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. 1A and 1B are identical, right? They're the same thing, the same exact conveyance. But this is legally binding, right? This actually has law. This has the power of law behind it because using the language. If you don't use the right language, you don't get recognized in court, right? So there's not just a matter of like, oh, Blackman's being a jerk, right? No, if you don't use the correct terminology, a court will not recognize it or a court will not enforce it, which is a bad thing to happen. That's why these sort of very complicated phrases develop, because courts said, if you use this language, you're okay. And lawyers are very careful people. Say, oh, well, if the court said that's okay, we use that exact language over and over again for 1,000 years. Right? So you keep using these same jargon, things that some judge that's been dead for 600 years used, because that's how it works. All right? So again, in example 1B, Adam has a present interest, and Oscar has a future interest. Now, okay. Can you describe with some more precision, more precisely, what interest does Adam have? Just a little precisely. We keep saying he's a present interest, but just give us a little more detail. He has a life estate, right? How do you know that? Okay. Well, I'll get back to bundle 6 later, but just reading this sentence here, this sounds obvious, but what tells you there's a life estate? For life. Okay, there's code. When you see the phrase for life, that means life estate. That one's easier, right? It says for life, life estate, right? It makes sense. Some of them will not make sense. This one makes sense. So we say that Adam has a present interest in life estate. What? That's how you have to learn to speak. It's weird. I know it doesn't sound right, but this is how you have to speak. Adam has a present interest in life estate. Not that he has a life estate. It's in life estate. Why is it in life estate? I wish I could tell you. I don't know the answer. But that's the words we use, right? And that's what you have to learn. So we say that Adam has a present interest in life estate. And also we say that Oscar has a future interest. We'll describe Oscar's interest later. I don't want to do Oscar yet. I promise. The second half of class, we get to Oscar. I just want to talk about Adam for now. Right, everyone with me? All right, so in this example, 1B, Adam has a present interest in life estate. Understood? Now, Kay made a point. I want to come back to it. Tristan, when you have a bundle of sticks, right, and you have a life estate, do you have the entire bundle of sticks? Yeah. How long does your stick last you? And what happens when you die? Yeah. So what happens here is that when Adam dies, his stick, so to speak, right, his life estate terminates. And his interest goes back to Oscar. And Oscar regains the full bundle of sticks. All right. I want to talk about Oscar later, but I just want to make that point here. That it doesn't actually say what happens after Adam dies. Does it say it? No. But we have to draw an inference. That if you have a life estate and no one else is mentioned, doesn't go anywhere else, we make a presumption. It goes back to Oscar. That presumption is not always going to work. Later in class, we'll see what happens, but that's the presumption we make to start. All right, everyone with me? So we're 30 minutes in, and I'm on 2 examples. But trust me, this is good. Yes, Andres.
When Adam dies, Oscar gets
I don't want to talk about Oscar yet.
Okay.
Bruno, Oscar, we don't talk about it. No, sorry. Finally, got a joke. God, I was waiting on semester fun. No. All right. I got Fiddler of the Roof and a Content in the last 15 minutes. That's pretty good. And Green Acres. Actually, doing good references. All right. Everyone with me? All right. Let's try the next example, which is going to be number 1C. Okay, this is going to be for Grant. I'll get to back to you in a minute, Grant. All right, let's read 1C. It says, Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, period. Pay very close attention to the periods, my friend. Periods are your, oh, that sounds awful. Punctuation. Cancel. Right. Punctuation is your friends. Make sure you know the difference between a period and a comma. Right? You'll see what I'm talking about later, but just pay very close attention to punctuation. God, Lord help me. It's one of those days. All right. So Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, period. End of sentence. Next sentence. Blackacre from Adam to Betty for Adam's life. All right, so let's do the first sentence first before the period. Grant, what's going on there? In simple, in plain English.
So I believe Adam has a present interest in the life of
Yeah. So Adam, good, has a present interest in life state. Very good. What about Oscar? Do we know what he has? Don't give me the technical. Just what was he? What kind of interest does he have?
Oscar's got a future.
Good. That's all I need to know. Thank you. And we'll come to Oscar later. I promise. I don't want to do them yet because this is like a cake, and I got to do layers. If I jump to the frosting first, you're gonna lose yourself. All right. So we say Adam has a present interest in life estate. Oscar has a future interest. Period. Dylan, how long does Adam's estate last for? I know this sounds stupid, but just bear with me.
For life, right?
Yes. And what happens the second Adam dies?
His present interest goes back to Oscar.
Correct. Is there anything that Adam can do to extend his interest beyond his life? Is there anything Adam can do to extend his interest beyond his life? What? But how? In other words, is there any way that this future interest kicks in when Adam dies, right? Is there anything Adam can do to extend beyond his life to give it to his kids?
No.
There is, but we'll get there later, right? There's something he could do, but I don't want to talk about that. But you're mostly right. Okay. Oscar's future interest has a set date when Adam dies. So Vanessa, let's look at this next sentence. Blackacre from Adam to Betty for Adam's life. What's going on there, Vanessa?
So when it comes Betty with the present interest?
Okay, so Betty has a present interest, but how long does that present interest last?
Until Adam dies?
So when Adam dies, does Betty lose her home? That's right. When Adam dies, Betty loses Blackacre. And where does it go, Vanessa?
It'll go back to Oscar.
Goes back to Oscar. Oscar has a date. His date is on the death of Adam. Nothing will change that. So actually, I'll answer Dylan's question now. How could actually Adam change it? He could buy out Oscar and say, Oscar, you want to give me the full bundle of sticks? You can do that. Oscar could sell him his interest. So that's why you could do it. But short of that, nothing can happen. All right? But Vanessa is correct. Oh, you flipped it. Oh my God, I just looked back. You did the flip. See, you're messing with me because I wasn't quite done with you yet. And then you flipped it. But it's fine. I remember and I didn't double click. Lose my mind. Right? But Vanessa was correct. You're playing games on me. Right? Vanessa was correct. Betty is a present interest, and it lasts the duration of Adam's life. Now, flip it. Sarah? There it is. Now I know. Right? And that's Daniela Isabella, right? Oh, it's Angelica. See, my daughter's, one's middle name is Isabella, the other one's Angelica, so that's why I inverted my head. Okay. I got both, yeah. It's Isabella, not Isabella, but close enough. Okay. Sarah, what do you call this type of a present interest? There's a French word for it. Let's see if you got it from the reading. Measured by someone else's life duration. That's correct. A life estate per autre vie. I'm going to spell that for you because I know no one knows how to spell it. A present interest in life estate. Let's see if I can spell it. I usually spell it wrong. If someone I spelled it wrong, you can yell at me. Making a big deal of it, so let's just check my notes. P-U-R. Yeah, I think I actually got that right. Did I get that right? Good. Okay. A life estate property, it's French. You thought you were done Latin, you got French now. A life estate property is a life estate measured by someone else's life. This life estate is not measured by Betty's life. She can live to 120, will not matter. The day Adam dies, she loses Blackacre. And it goes back to Oscar. Oscar's future interest is set. It's in stone. He's just I mean, it's kind of morbid, right? He's waiting for Adam to die. I mean, that's really, when you have a life estate, you're just waiting for someone to die. It's kind of gruesome, but that's how they work. And nothing Adam can do can change it unless he buys out Oscar. It's the only way he can buy him out. Everyone has a price, as they say. So if he really wants Blackacre, he'll buy out Oscar. Okay. Everyone with me? All right. All right. So far, so good. So that's example 1C with a life estate property. Let's try now a different example. We've talked so far about the life estate, and the life estate's a present interest that has a set finish point upon the death of the person. But we talked earlier about the bundle of sticks, right? And with the life estate, I think Grant told us, you don't get the full bundle. You only get one stick in the bundle. We also have, I think we're done, right, Kate? Yeah. But also, Kate, what happens if I give you the full bundle of sticks? Can I do that?
Yeah.
What do you call it when I convey to you a full bundle of sticks? Every bundle, the entire thing.
A fee simple.
A fee simple. What's a fee simple?
It's, I think the way the book put it is like absolute ownership. It's like the most extreme form. It lasts forever.
Okay, good. You recount what the book said, but I want to break it down for a little bit, please. The fee simple is a type of a present interest. You will sometimes see it called a fee simple absolute. I don't like that phrase for reasons that'll be obvious in about maybe a week or two. I can't tell you quite yet because it'll confuse you. I just call it a fee simple, right? It's the most simple, the most basic estate because it includes the entire bundle of sticks, right? The right to buy, the right to sell, the right to exclude. But more importantly, with a fee simple, you have control over the present interest and the future interest, right? You have control over the present interest and the future interest. With a life estate, you cannot control the future interest. After you're dead, it's gone. With a life estate, you only control the present, right? Adam can sell to Betty, that's nice, but when Adam dies, it's gone. But with a fee simple, you control the present interest and you control the future interest. You control both. Now, I just want to tweak what Kate said. He's not wrong, and this is why I want to make this point very clear. The fee simple does last forever, right? But you and I will not. We all die. So it sort of hurts your brain to say that a person can have an estate forever because no one lives forever. The way I say it, which I think makes more sense, is you have control of what happens in the future. Right? You can control what happens in the future. But of course, once you're dead, your son can become an idiot and gamble away and sell it, right? But you can at least set and plan like what you want to have to happen. Right? There's no guarantee if fee simple actually stays that way forever. Right? There's no guarantee. In theory, it could, but it usually doesn't because generations aren't always respectful of those sorts of things. But the fee simple means you control both the present interest and the future interest, right? So example 2A, for example, right? Example 2A, Oscar gives Adam a fee simple Blackacre, right? Simple, straightforward. Adam now has a full bundle of sticks. Adam can leave it to his heirs. He can leave it to his neighbor. He can leave it to his cat. Yes, you can actually leave property for a pet. It's crazy when people do it, right? With a fee simple, you are the king. You can do whatever you want. I'm with me. But there's no guarantee, right? There's no guarantee that the person will actually use it or leave it to his heirs. Right? With a fee simple, you can do whatever you want with it. Yet the language that the courts use suggests otherwise. So code, right? We discussed earlier, if the conveyance says for life, where is it? For life. You know, for life means a life estate, right? That's just what it tells you. All right. But if the conveyance says, and his heirs, if the conveyance says, and his heirs, that's code for a fee simple. Right? When you see the phrase and his heirs, a little red light should go off in your head and say, okay, that means fee simple. It doesn't mean literally it goes to Adam's heirs, right? That's what you want to say. And a bunch of people will say that in the midterm. I promise you, no matter how many times I repeat this point, you'll screw this up. Trust me. The mere fact that it says Adam and his heirs does not mean Adam's heirs get it. All that means is Adam has a fee simple. He can leave it to his heirs, or leave it to his neighbor, or give it to his cat. I don't care, right? But he has control over the future interest. Adam has control with a fee simple. Everyone with me? Is that a no? Okay, water, got it. Everyone with me? Stop me if you get this. We're gonna keep moving. Yes, that's right.
Are there other words that the law uses to use these things?
I don't think so. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, there might be that I'm not aware of, but that's usually how I use it.
There was an example in the book that said to be forever.
Yeah, don't worry about that one. I mean, I'll get you in a second. The book, let me put it this way. This chapter in the book sucks, but it's the best book in the market. Brendan, understand, right? This is a terrible way of explaining it, but it's better than all the others. If you read the other books, they're worse. So I try to be candid. The editor is a good friend. I talk to him all the time. This chapter was written like 4 decades ago, and I haven't changed it much, like 50 years. It shows. That's why I give you these summaries, which I think are better. Maybe you disagree. Whatever works for you, but this is the best we got. Yes, Bree, go ahead.
Are they each used commonly, like both the and there and be simple?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question. Can you repeat it, please?
Are the words used, are they both commonly used? Like,
Yes.
are we more likely to see one than the other?
You're going to see and his heirs. To be forever, I've never seen in my life, other than the chapter of this book. Okay. All right. So let's actually do example 2B. 2B or 2B? All right. Monet, help us out here. So in example 2B, what is the present interest? Or let's say it differently. Who has the present interest? I'll ask that question first.
Adam.
Okay, good. So we say Adam has a present interest. And Monet, help us out, please. What interest does Adam have here in 2B?
Here,
What interest does Adam have here?
he has the present and future interest.
You're not wrong, but be more precise. What kind of present interest does he have here?
Fee simple.
Correct. Okay, we'll get to the future in a minute, I promise. Okay. So we say Adam has a present interest in fee simple. Adam has a present interest in fee simple. Okay, and you know that because, Monet, how do you know it's fee simple? What words are we seeing?
And his heirs.
Thank you, exactly, and his heirs. When you see and his heirs, that just flags you up fee simple. All right, the harder question, and Samaya, I'll call on you for this one. Who has a future interest here?
Currently, I believe Adam
Does Oscar have any interest here?
does. No,
Oscar's got no interest.
no.
So what exactly, what future interest does Adam have here?
He's able to control it, and his heirs will be entitled to it. Should he want.
What do you call the future interest after a fee simple? Is there a name for that?
Fee simple.
Yeah, it's a trick question, right? I think you answered my question quite well. There's not really a name for what the future interest is here, right? Someone in the other class said nobody has a future interest, which was actually a decent answer. What Adam has is control over the future, right? There's not really a name for what Adam has, right? It's not like we have remainder, reversion. What Adam has is not really a name for. But what we say is that Adam has control over the future. He can leave it to his heirs, can leave it to his neighbor, can leave it to his cat, whoever he wants. He has control over the future. That's what the fee simple gives you. It gives you the power to control what happens to the land after your life. Right? And that's the reason why the fee simple differs from the life estate. See, the book puts fee simple first and life estate second. I think that's wrong. Life estate's easier to actually understand than fee simple. I actually think life estate's, maybe I'm wrong, but after I taught this for you, I was like, I got to reverse this, which is why my readings don't actually match what I'm teaching. Okay. With me so far in this example, number 2B. Matt, is that a question? No. Okay. All right. Let's move on. 2C. All right. Again, pay attention to the punctuation. Punctuation matters a lot in this topic. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam and his heirs, period. Blackacre from Adam to Betty and her heirs, period. All right. Tamika, help us out, please. What interest does Adam have here?
Okay, are you talking about the first sentence?
Yeah, first sentence, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Adam has a present interest in fee simple.
Okay, Adam has a present interest in fee simple. Does Oscar have any interest at this point?
No.
Correct. All right, now do the second sentence, please.
Well, Betty has present interest in fee simple.
Okay. But after the second sentence, it's a new conveyance. Betty has a present interest in fee simple. And then Tamika, help us out. One more question. At this point, does Adam retain any interest after the second sentence? Correct. So what happened is Oscar had the fee simple. He gave his bundle of sticks over to Adam, whole bundle of sticks. And Adam gives his bundle of sticks to Betty. Oscar has nothing. Adam has nothing. You can do that. If you have fee simple, you're the king, you're the queen. You can give away your interest. And that's what happened there. Okay? The key point is you give away your entire bundle of sticks. Okay, everyone with me so far? Oh, yes, Kevin, please.
So when you're writing this out, wouldn't it just be saying has interest in fee simple? Adam couldn't.
That's what I wrote.
No, I mean, like, if you were answering the question, this is like a question at the end, it would just be text, it would never actually.
Well, no, but this happened, right? There was a period of time in which, that's why I asked one sentence at a time. There was a period of time in which Adam had the fee simple. And then even a minute later, right, then Betty has fee simple. Right? Again, the punctuation matters. When I put a period, that suggests we're done with the transaction, pause, and then we have a new transaction, right? Even if it's just for a minute, you're allowed to do this. I can do a transaction, say, I'm selling to Kevin, and then 30 seconds later, Kevin sells to Arturo. But for at least 30 seconds, my friend, that'd be simple. Congratulations. You didn't do much with it, but you had it. Everyone with me? All right, again, so to summarize, the big distinction between fee simple and life estate. The holder of a fee simple can decide who gets a future interest. The holder of a fee simple can decide who gets a future interest. But the holder of a life estate cannot decide who gets a future interest after his death. He cannot. Is that much is clear, guys? All right. Yeah, I'll do it one more time. Okay. The holder of a fee simple can decide who receives the future interest. The holder of a life estate cannot decide who receives the future interest after his death. Is that good, Renee? Okay. If you want me to repeat something, I'm happy to do it. I always have to repeat. Questions? Yes, Gabriel.
Just to clarify, earlier when you were saying, add, for example, to the first sentence,
Right, so I'm being a little bit dicey. I would say that Adam has control over the future interest. Because there isn't really a future interest, it doesn't belong to anyone. Adam can decide where it goes, right? Because again, after he's dead, he can't control it, right? Because he's dead. But he can give it to someone else, and then he has control of it. It's sort of a weird thing, but I like the word control. I think that's the way it makes more sense to me. I don't know. But yeah, the chapter of the book in this case is just dreadful. I wish they would burn it, but that's what we got. Start from scratch. All right. I want to move on now to future interests, and we'll do probably one. I don't think I can get to both of them today. I didn't in my first class, so I think I'll do it here. We'll try. The two future interests I want to talk about are the reversion and the remainder. I think today I'll have time for reversion. I don't think I'll get to remainder. If I do, that'd be a miracle, but I don't think I will. So we'll just try reversion today. All right, reversion. So let's try example 3a. All right, example 3a. This is also the same thing as 1a. It's repeated. Okay. Oscar gives Adam a life estate in Blackacre. Clark. Okay, so just remind us, refresh our recollection.
Adam has a present interest in life estate.
Okay, good. Adam has a present interest in life estate. Very good. What else? What other interests are there here?
And Oscar has a future interest in. It's not,
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, thank you. You're good. Okay. Dot. So that was mean. I'm sorry. Oh, there's like a cartoon, like the thought bubble, like dot, right? So we know that Oscar's future interest in something, right? Take a step back, right? When Oscar started here, right, before this all started, in example 3, Oscar had a fee simple, right? How do we know that? I didn't actually tell you that. You've all been presuming that's true. And in most cases, that presumption is fair, right? Usually when we start with Oscar, by the way, why Oscar O? O is original. That's why. There's no better reason for it than that. When Oscar starts off, we presume he has a fee simple. You may not presume that. Perhaps Oscar started off with a life estate. I'll just ask, Alexi, let me ask you a question. If Oscar starts off with a life estate, what's the only interest he can give? If Oscar starts off with a life estate, what's the only interest he can give? You got to talk louder. No. If Oscar has a life estate, what's the only interest Oscar can give? You ever think, if you have $20 in your wallet, what's the most money you can give me? $20. Can you give more than what you have? Of course not. So if Oscar only has a life estate, what's the only thing he can give? In Oscar's life, that's right. Good, correct. As a general rule, you can only give what you have. So here, Oscar's giving Adam a life estate measured by Adam's life. That means Oscar has something greater than that. In order for Oscar to give Adam this one stick in the bundle, Oscar must have more sticks, right? If you have $20 in your wallet, that's all you can give someone. But there's no credit cards in property law. You give what you have. I'm sure there isn't. Right? That's called fraud if you convey more property than you. I mean, actually, it's a good point. Right? If you convey property you don't own, that's called fraud. It happens all the time, right? But you can't do it. Oscar has a future interest. How do we know this? He started off with a full bundle of sticks. He gave one stick in his bundle to Adam, which is a life estate. But Oscar keeps his other sticks in reserve. And what's he waiting for? He's waiting for Adam to die. Right? And what happens? So you have the bundle of sticks. Oscar had the full bundle of sticks. He gave a life estate over to Adam. He kept the stiff for himself, and upon death, it comes back to a fee simple. But for now, Adam's still alive. He's breathing. Good. Adam's still alive. What do we call Oscar's interest while Adam is still alive? Maddie. Choose carefully. Choose carefully.
Fee simple?
Does Oscar have a fee simple now?
A future interest in fee simple.
So what do you're not wrong, but you're missing. No, come on, someone said it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It ruins my thing. I build. It's a process. Maddie, try it again.
Reversion.
Yeah, but you're getting the follow-up question. What? Right? Why is it a reversion?
Because they're because he's decided who.
What's the definition for reversion?
Reversion? It's just the land returning.
No. Okay, that's fine. All right, let me take it back. You're not wrong, but a little bit different. Okay. Look at this transaction, right? Oscar gives Adam a life estate of Blackacre. Okay. Oscar is conveying it to Adam. So we can use some words to describe it. Right? Oscar is a transferor. And Adam is a transferee. How do you remember this? Well, remember I told you the suffixes, right? The way the word ends. OR is the giver. And EE, me, is the receiver, right? Oscar's a transferor, and Adam's a transferee, right? Again, initially, Oscar had fee simple. He chopped up his bundle. He gave 1 stick over to Adam. He transferred 1 stick to Adam. He kept for himself, right? Now, we know that when Adam dies, it goes back to Oscar. It doesn't actually say that, though, and that's an important point I want you all to recognize. The conveyance doesn't actually say what happens when Adam dies. We have to draw an inference. We have to infer it's got to go somewhere. Someone has to get the future interest. No one is mentioned here. Therefore, it has to be the grantor, the transferor, who gets it. Okay? So, yeah, Oscar's a transferor, and Adam's a transferee. Okay? I'll give you the definition of reversion. Okay? Reversion. A reversion is a future interest that follows a life estate and that goes back to the transferor. And you weren't wrong, just it wasn't quite all the way, but you're on the right track. Okay? A reversion, you can all see it together, is a future interest that follows a life estate that goes back to the transferor. I rarely ask you to memorize anything. Almost never happens. This one you got to memorize. Pretend this is like an element of a tort, right? Just memorize this definition. Why? You have to check both boxes, right? There are some future interests that follow a life estate that do not go back to the transferor. Right? If it goes somewhere else, it's not a reversion, it's something else. I won't tell you what, because it'll confuse you. Right? If there's a future interest that after a life estate goes somewhere else, not a reversion. There are future interests that go back to the transferor, but not after a life estate. Not a reversion. Ready for this one? There are going to be future interests that go after death plus some period of time. So maybe a week after a person dies, then it goes. That's not a reversion. It's immediately upon death. Goes back to the transferor. If there's even a gap of time, that's something else. That's something else. We'll get there later, maybe in 2 weeks. So I don't usually ask you to memorize stuff. This one, just memorize. I think the book has a definition. I like mine better, but you got to have the fact that it goes back after death. After a life estate terminates. Yes, Alexa. You got to speak up. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Just for the second sentence, would the last word be in reversion?
I didn't finish typing it. I'm going to do that right now. You want to do it? No, you're gonna do it. You're gonna give me the answer. You volunteered. I'm sorry. Oscar has a future interest in. That's correct. Thank you. Yeah, that's so hard. Oscar has a future interest in reversion. Why? It's a future interest that follows the life estate and goes back to the transferor, right? After Adam dies, it goes back to Oscar. Future interest, check. After life estate, check. Goes back to the transferor, check. Just walk through that. If you don't, you're going to get it wrong. Andres. You don't have to. If you want to, you can, but I usually don't. Yeah, it would annoy me. It's not because the timing actually introduces another concept called executory interest, which we'll do later. I don't want to get there yet. Now, Maddie, you actually said something before that was correct. I didn't put a period yet, right? In the future interest reversion in fee simple. Correct. Very good. I heard you say that. I wasn't ready for that yet, but there it is. Now I put a period. Until I put a period, I'm not done yet. Right? I'll get Chris in 1 second, I promise. Oscar's a future interest reversion. But when he gets it back, it's going to be in fee simple because you have the entire bundle of sticks. Right? The reversion will be in fee simple. Again, Oscar started with a fee simple. He chopped it up by giving Adam a life estate. When Adam dies, he gets a stick back. He gets a full bundle of sticks. He has reversion in fee simple. Again, at some point in the future, Oscar will have a fee simple. But look how complicated this is. He has a future interest in reversion in fee simple. You got 3 fingers, right? That's a mouthful. You need to speak this language. You need to be able to convey this thought. Okay, Carissa and then Alyssa. Rhymes. Good.
What happened with Oscar guys first?
I knew someone always asks that question. So what will likely happen is Oscar's heirs will inherit his reversion. But it's a little bit messy, and we'll do a case on that, I think, in a week or so. So the question you asked, there's a case in Illinois. We'll do it then. I think it's called Marinholtz. It'll be on the syllabus. You'll see it. So when you read that, I'll call on you, or you'll raise your hand and remind me you asked the question. Alyssa, please.
So,
I know you're not the only. Trust me, you are not the only one. This is not easy. The Fox case is a piece of cake compared to this.
so I thought life estate didn't have fee simple, but Oscar turned it into a fee simple.
No, and the sticks might help you understand this point, right? Oscar started off with a fee simple, right? He split it up. He kept a reversion for himself, and he gave a life estate to Adam. When Adam dies, that stick comes back together. They merge and forms a fee simple. Did that answer your question? Maybe not, but I'll take her first. That's our hand somewhere there. No? Sorry, the glare might be playing tricks on my eyes. I'll try one more time, right? We're still in example 3A. We haven't got to 3B yet. And by the way, we did this example the first minute of class. There's a reason why I don't do the reversion until I get to I break them up, right? For good reason. I used to do them together, and that was a disaster. You find out who's the transferor and who's the transferee. Do yourself a favor. In your notes, just put this in. Because when there's like 5 people, it's not often clear who's who. Here, there's 2 people. It's easy, but there might be more people. You say Oscar's a transferor, Adam's a transferee. Okay? Adam has a present interest in life estate. Upon Adam's death, it goes back to Oscar. After the life estate terminates, it goes back to the transferor. That tells you it's reversion, right? In order to know what the future interest is, you first have to know what the present interest is, right? You first say, okay, there's a life estate, comes after life estate, goes back, whatever. But you have to sort of like run a game in your head. Where is this going to go? There's got to be someone. Property has to belong to someone. It can't belong to no one, right? The property has to be owned by someone at any point in time. There's got to be someone. Right? When Adam dies, it's got to go somewhere. And the only place for it to go, Oscar. You with me? You with me? Yeah? I don't believe you, but YouTube guys, you with me? Should I? There's no feedback, so if they answer, they can just text Marty for a question. I actually had that in the past. Like I've always, even before the COVID, I would always put my lectures on YouTube for like a decade, and people would like text their friends questions when they were like on the phone. So it's happened. Everyone with me? Okay. Reversion. Be very careful in your notes. Be very careful. Do not confuse a reversion with a remainder. I don't think I'll have time to do remainders today, but remainders are different. Okay? Reversions and remainders are different. Do not confuse them. That's caution number 1. Caution number 2, do not use the word revert. Someone said last class, I think, reverts back. Was it Trey? I think it was Trey. Was it you? Who said reverts back? Someone did. Someone said it. Maybe it was. No, I think it was. Do not say reverts back. Why? Because there's something called a possibility of reverter. So it says, was it you? Yeah, I remember. Right? It says goes back, right? Goes back is neutral. Because look, you got reversion, you got a remainder, and you got a reverter. You will confuse them. I probably will. I'm going to apologize in advance because someone's going to be like, Professor Black, Josh, you said the wrong. I was like, yeah, I know. But I'm beating up on you because I do it too. It's so easy to confuse reversion, remainder, reverter, right? So you have to suffer, right? You have to just drill it into your head, these terminologies. Someone put on the poll a question. That's actually funny in hindsight. My very methods of diagramming present and future interest. Yes, there will be a chart that you will grow to hate. It gets very long. The first class is kind of short and cute, and it gets longer and longer and longer and longer. Then you hate yourself, right? But there is a diagram, but it's not going to be fun. I'm giving you warning. I'm giving you fair warning. It's no surprises. All right. So again, Oscar has a future interest reversion fee simple. Everyone understands why it's in fee simple. Good. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, actually, you know what? 3A and 3B are the same thing. It's just with the language of the law. So it's the same thing. All right. Let's try this one. Let me see. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. Blackacre from Adam to Betty for Adam's life. All right. I think Claire, because they have double questions. What are the present interests here? Okay. Adam has a present interest in life history, right? And just you have to sort of just spell it out. You just trust me on this one. And please don't use abbreviations. LE, FS, don't. You will confuse yourself because there are a lot of things where FS stand for. It's not a good idea. So Adam has a present interest in life estate. Okay. Now, then what's the future interest here?
Is it the remainder?
I'm up to Betty yet. What's the future interest that comes after Adam's present interest? What do you call that?
The reversion.
Okay, correct. Very good. Thank you. Oscar has a future interest in.
Oh, in reversion.
Excellent. You got both of them. Good. Thank you. Don't just stop at reversion. Make sure you say fee simple. That's actually important. The answer is not complete unless you actually get to the end of the sentence. Oscar has a future interest in reversion in fee simple. All right, Armin. So let's go to the period. What happens after the period?
Yes, so then Betty has a present interest in.
What do you call that? That phrase. I think Sarah gave it a few minutes ago. Sarah, what's that phrase again? Thank you. Sure. Laptop and in-text. It's good. So you got that teamwork. Right. A life estate protrophy. Very good. Protrophy. And what that means is that Betty's life estate is measured by the duration of Adam's life. Now, Armin, is this in fee simple?
No,
Why not?
because it's the bundle of six of the spread.
Okay, good. And one more question, Armin. We don't see the phrase "and his heirs" here anywhere, do we?
No.
So how do we know it's fee simple for reversion?
Because it doesn't mention who it goes back to, and if the conveyance doesn't mention who it goes back to, you assume it goes back to.
It's a presumption, yeah. It's a presumption. The phrase "and his heirs" does not appear here. We still presume it's a fee simple. Correct. So the life estate protrophy. Please don't write he has a life estate in fee simple. For the love of God, don't write that because you have no idea what you're talking about. If you write he has a life estate in fee simple, you're adrift at sea. Right? Yeah, go ahead. You gotta talk louder. No one can hear you in the back.
Are you gonna expect us to define I don't know what language that is, but that word?
The life estate protrophy, if you know what it means, you can use it correctly, that's fine. But it means a life estate measured by the duration of someone else's life. That's English. You could, yeah. One and then someone else. Yeah.
So when you say per opportunity, we don't have to define who's.
Look, you see, this is when people say I'm not being precise enough. You could say protrophy. I don't want to make it more complicated. I'm not going to write this on the board, but it could be protrophy for the duration of Adam's life. If you want to say it in French, God bless. I don't want to say speaking French, but if you say protrophy, I know what you're talking about. Yes, Arthur.
Would that be incorrect to place Betty in between Adam and Oscar's interest?
No, and the reason why I don't want to do that, I put a little. I could underline. That's kind of weird, but I put a little symbol to indicate that this is after the period. This is the thing Kevin asked before. These are separate conveyances. There's going to be one present interest at a time. And for a moment, however long, Adam had a present interest in life estate. But then right away, Adam went ahead and conveyed his interest up to Betty. So I would actually put him in this. I mean, you could. It's not wrong. But it creates the impression that they're simultaneously two different present interests, which cannot happen. They can't both have life estates at the same time. Gabriel.
If we do separate them out like that, would you want us to repeat them up the rest of the future?
I don't. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think you have to. Oscar's interest stays the same no matter what happens. This is my question. I think was through Dylan a few minutes ago. Nothing that Adam can do can get rid of that reversion. That's set in stone, right? That's going to happen at a certain date, unless Adam buys an Oscar, it's going to happen. Okay. All right. You're about 10 minutes of the other class. You're actually doing okay on time. But I wanted the reversions. I don't want to remain. I won't finish it. Okay. Let's do some questions then. Right. All right. So let's try this one. And we'll wrap up a little bit early because you're asking fewer questions in the other class. You either get it or you're not asking questions. I don't know which one it is. But I never know. Andres, okay. Please. Yeah.
I know that what happens when property is split up between different people? I guess they only have an interest in that one little section of property.
Well, we're talking about Blackacre, right? We mean the entirety of Blackacre. But let's say if there's a farm in Blackacre and there's like a house, etc., you can actually specify, I'm giving you a life estate in the farm, right? I'm giving you a life estate in the house. You can specify that with very precise levels. You can say, this specific plot of land goes to you, and you get that plot of land. Right? Think of the on feudalism. I'll just go back to the picture. This map sort of illustrates how these lands are chopped up. You would have very rough, jagged edges. This belongs to A, this belongs to B, this belongs to C. And then within each land, he gets this plot of land to farm, then he has this plot of land to farm. You can chop it every which way. Yeah, Arthur.
You mentioned that only one person can have a present interest.
At a time, yes.
At a time. You could convey it, let's say, to X, Y, Z for B's life. So you could have 3 people.
Okay, we'll do ownership after the midterm. We'll come back, I promise it's complicated. We'll come back to that after the midterm. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
On that last problem we did, if Betty were to die, does Adam have a future interest in reversion in life estate?
Say your question again one more time.
Is there such a thing as a future interest in reversion in life estate?
Yes, you can. But it's not for Betty. So you're looking at example 3C?
Yeah, the very last one we did.
Okay. And what was your question?
If Betty were to die before Adam dies?
Well, that's easy, right?
Yeah.
I'll ask you, Trey. So in this example, what happens if Betty dies? What happens by Adam's death?
She had the present interest.
Betty, well, you can't have an interest if you're dead.
Right.
So what happens as soon as Betty's dead?
Should just be back to Adam having the present interest.
Adam's also dead.
Well, Adam's dead too now.
Right, because think about it, right? Think about it. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, right? And then Betty has for the duration of Adam's life, right? If Adam's dead, Betty will not have it, right? The second Adam dies, it goes to Oscar. Your question is a little bit differently, right? What happens if Betty dies first? Well, how is she making this transaction? She's dead. In other words, if she dies and Adam's dead, it goes away. But now the second possibility, what happens if Betty's dead, but Adam's still alive? Is that your question? Okay, now I got your question. That's it. Check who's dead. All right, so let me repeat Trey's question, which I think I botched the first time. Betty's dead, Adam's alive. What happens? Goes to Betty's heirs. Betty's heirs will hold on to it until Adam dies. I wasn't going to go there, but you went there, right? You see why this topic's insane, because you have all these crazy combinations. If Betty's dead while Adam's still alive, Oscar doesn't have it yet. Oscar will only get the property at the moment of Adam's death, not a minute sooner. So Betty's heirs would actually hold the property until the death of Adam. Is that what you expected, Trey?
No, because I was under the impression that you could only have control of the present interest if you had a life estate.
But it is a life estate measured by Adam's life, and he's still alive. So basically, Betty's heirs will inherit that life estate per atrophy. And look, we can make this question even worse. Betty can sell her interest to Carol, right, to C. Betty can sell her interest, which is still measured by Adam's life. The only thing that's certain is when Adam dies, Oscar gets Blackacre. Everything else is up for grabs. Let's say the movie, I think, right? Questions? All right. Yeah, Tony.
Yeah. In that example, Betty selling to Carol, she could sell her future interest?
She has no future interest. What's the only interest Betty has here?
Adam's.
It's a present interest in life estate per atrophy for Adam's life. That's all she has. She has $20 from her wallet. That's all she can give. She can't give a penny more. She has one stick, and that's a stick she can sell. And she gives away her stick, and someone else has a life estate per atrophy for Adam. If Adam lives to be 120, it doesn't matter. Now, someone usually asks, oh no, actually Chris asked, what happens if Oscar dies? Yeah, you asked that question. Oscar's heirs will probably stand waiting to see what happens. That's usually what's going to happen. Questions? Is that a stretch or a question? I don't know what you. All right, I'm going to turn my head away.
It's really cool.
chairs.
I know it's these chairs are awful. I feel bad for you. I'm sorry. These are the most uncomfortable chairs in the world. We have I swear, we have a committee that's been looking to replace these things, and then like COVID happened, that just like put on hold. So I have no idea if you'll even see these new chairs. But trust me, I know it's like we started this 2 years ago, and then we were in the building for 2 years. So all right, whatever. But yeah, I know those chairs suck. I sit in for meetings sometimes. They're terrible. All right, you know what? We have 10 minutes left. Let me talk about the midterm, and that I think will be better. I don't want the class to get off schedule because it'll just drive me batty. So we have a midterm coming up on. Someone tries the date quicker than I can pull it up. The midterm is going to be on right before spring break, I think. Yeah, there it is. All right, so March 8th is the Tuesday, and then March 10th is the Thursday. We'll have an in-class midterm on the 8th, and then we'll go over it the very next class. All right. The format of the midterm is not a surprise. In fact, if you go to the syllabus, I've linked to every exam I've ever given. I hope you've seen this before. It's been the syllabus since the first day of class. It's actually since December. I did this before even Christmas. I have all my midterms. I also post the A+ answer where there is one. There was not one in the COVID semester because everything sucked. That semester we went to just pass fail. It was the worst exams I've ever graded in my life. They were disastrous because people just said, I don't care. Such a mistake. And you know what? The students got burned because they had no grades for jobs. They got burned, and they knew this was going to happen. They said, oh, we don't have grades. How are we supposed to be assessed as a 1L if you don't make grades? Anyway, I voted 4 grades, but I lost. But anyway, so every other semester we have an A+ answer plus a memo, at least the last 5 or 6 years, explaining it. I'll just pull up the midterm from the last one. This is the spring of 21 to show what they kind of look like. Again, midterm, like the finals, open book. Bring whatever you want will not help you. You should see by now your notes are not going to help you, right? It's like being in my class. Your notes are not going to, if it's not in your here, it's not going to matter. It's true. It's not going to matter. The exam, like the class, will be 90 minutes. So please get here on time. Don't be late for that. It's all essay. I do not do multiple choice for a lot of reasons I explained to you another time. I don't like multiple choice. All essay. But the flip side is the word count. The reason why I give a word count is because I know a lot of you are very smart. And you just dump everything you know, hoping, praying that you stumble across the right answer. I know you do it. I did it, right? You can all type real fast, and you just dump everything. The purpose of a word limit is to prevent that. It's to not reward the person who can type the most, but it's the person who can write the best. It puts you on a level playing field. You all have 90 minutes, right? 1,000 words. No more, no less. I use less, but no more, right? I can equally grade person A and person B. If you write 5,000 words in an hour and you write 2,000, I can't compare those. It's not a fair comparison by any stretch. So the word count is to create a level playing field. People complain about it. Trust me, it's for your benefit. I used to actually have 500 words, and I relinquished that because people got. I thought it was fair because people really have to be precise. You couldn't. Part of the French bullshit me, right? We did part of some more French, right? You couldn't BS me. You couldn't. With 500 words, you could not BS me. This one's a little bit easier, but I can still pick it up. Okay. Again, open book. Open book means paper. You will not be able to use your tablets or your laptops or your digital textbooks. Unfortunately, there's no way to do it without preventing cheating. It's not possible. If you're on your phone, I don't know what the hell you're looking at, right? I think it's impossible to cheat on this exam because it's all essay. I'll know very quickly because I read them all myself, but don't cheat. It's just very stupid. It's not worth it, especially on this exam. But the appearance of cheating matters to people, so no devices, just print out your stuff on paper, okay? And to be honest, if you have a very huge outline, you're going to run out of time. The notes won't help you. If you're looking at your notes in the midterm, you're going to run out of time. It's my experience. The midterms will be, I guess I told you, we'll give them in class on the Tuesday. On the Thursday, we'll go over in class. And then over spring break, I'm going to set up sessions over Zoom, right? Meet with me right away. And look, there are two ways of doing this one. One, I could take a month to grade them, which I've done before. The downside is you don't care anymore because you're already about done with the semester. And also this semester, I have 170 students. I can't. It's just not possible to grade them all. If I had one section, I could do it, but with two, I'm just not able to. It will take too much time. So instead, I'll have spring break sessions over Zoom. Meet with me via Q. We'll figure out the details, and we'll go over your paper. And I found whatever time it spends one-on-one is actually more useful than me grading it by myself, and you never come look at it. So you have that advantage. Okay. The setup of the exam is usually very similar. If you can't see it, I'm sorry. It's on the syllabus. It's linked. Make it a little bit bigger. There's usually instructions. Write a memo of 1,000 words, addressing 5 issues. I'll also tell you what jurisdiction you're in, right? There are some rules about common law property. Maybe this is a water question following the Western rule or the American rule, the English rule. There are going to be some modern rules, some old rules. I'll tell you what your jurisdiction is. Okay? And then I sort of give you a fact pattern. Okay? There'll be a lengthy fact pattern and 5 questions. All right? We have a lengthy fact pattern and 5 questions. Given a 1,000 word limit, that suggests that maybe you should write about, I don't know, 200 words per question. Now that's the easy part. The hard part is, what am I looking for? Given you have a tight word limit, you're not supposed to do everything. I don't need you to repeat the facts. I know the facts. I wrote the question. Okay. I know what you guys do. I know what you do. It's so obvious. This is why I've been doing this forever, right? What I'm looking for really is analysis. You have the I, you have the R, you have the A, you have the C. Forget it, right? You're not gonna use Iraq after this year. Trust me. Don't tell your Iraq press. You will tell them, but they get mad at me when I say this. But it's a crutch, right? Iraq is a crutch used to learn how to write. It doesn't help you much in law school. You abandon it. I want the A. Why? It's an open book exam. If you can just copy a rule statement from your outline, how do I know you've done anything smart? That doesn't teach me anything. What I want is the new stuff that you were not able to do in advance, which is the analysis. So, for example, when I give a fact pattern, I take a case you've read and I twist it around, right? I change the facts a little bit, right? So instead of maybe the ring being buried in the sand or the soil, maybe it's floating in a lake, right? I take something you've learned and I change the facts around. And then I ask basically, how do these revised facts affect the outcome of the case? Maybe it goes one way or the other. Right. What I really love to see is students say, this case differs from Hannah versus Peel because of X, Y, and Z. Or this case will come out like McAvoy because of X, Y, and Z. Right? You're able to not only understand the facts, understand the legal issue, but sort of figure out how your case is different from other cases, which is what all of you will do as attorneys. This is what you're going to do, right? When a client comes to your office, you'll have some fact pattern that's somewhat similar to a case that's been decided, or maybe it's a little bit different. I don't know. That's your job, right? That's what you make money for, right? You're not there to say, well, I think the best solution that would be most fair. No, none of that matters, right? You got to make an argument based on law. I mean, you can. There's mediation. I don't want to dispute that, but for legal arguments, it's all based on case law and common law reasoning, right? Do yourself a favor. At this point in the semester, you will be able to answer about half the questions on the old midterms. You've not done future interest yet, or at least you started today, but at least questions on hunting, questions on finding lost goods, questions on conquering territories, questions on gifts. Those are fair. You've done those all. So do yourself a favor, right? Maybe this weekend, look through the old exam, the old midterm, practice. Don't walk into this exam cold. It's a mistake. What I'm about to say will make a lot of you upset, but it's true. Generally, the grade you get in your midterm will be your final exam grade. Truth. People hate when I say this, but it's true. I can help you, right? But it requires a lot of work by the midpoint of the semester. In fact, the reason why I like the midterm is it gives me the red flag saying, uh-oh, this person did not do well. Red flag, red flag. some semesters I have kids who go from a D to an A. It's happened before, but rare. Every couple of years. Usually they go from a B to a B plus or a C to a C plus. There's a range, but take the midterm seriously. I don't want to scare you, but I'm giving you just facts. All right. Questions? I scared you all the way out of the door. I'm sorry. All right, so let me wrap up a bit. I'll start the exit polling, get you on your merry way. We covered today two types of present interests, the life estate and the fee simple. With the fee simple, you have the full bundle of sticks, and you can control the future use of your property, right? But with the a life estate, you do not have the full bundle of sticks. You can only control it during your life, and there's a future interest that comes after a life estate, right? There are two types of future interest that come after a life estate. The first one we did is reversion. Reversion is a future interest after a life estate that goes back to the transferor. That's the first one. Next class on Tuesday, we'll do the next type of future interest, which is the remainder. All right. Anything else? No? I will see you all in class on Tuesday. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in the last example you gave, is there a mechanism that would allow Adam to only give